but can't really say I've got a least favorite animal. I do have some kind of appreciation for all of them. But if it comes to mind suddenly, if I think of one that fits in that category, I'll let you know again. I think let's just follow these buffaloes for a little bit. See what they get up to. How's it? Also see if one of our sort of more known characters might be in the group. This is the guy that was, oh look at him, his face, look at that leaf behind the ear. That's how a buffalo tries to make himself look pretty. Couldn't find a flower. Obviously I'm just kidding. Just look at that, it looks comical. It's a guy that really got himself covered, and he obviously pushing his horns and his head through leaves and twigs as he's walking along. Actually, if you look just there where he's standing now, Rob, if you just pan slightly to the right as well, if you look at the leaves just there, you see the leaves just to the right of the frame from that buffalo. Look at how dark they are. That's where another buffalo has walked straight through those leaves. He uses it almost as a brush. So it gets rid of some of that mud already. And that's why that guy's got all those leaves stuck behind his ear as well. I just look at this guy here that Rob's getting onto him now. Younger bull, we see them often with this group. And before he ran, you might have noticed that he didn't actually wallow that much. I remember a while back I was mentioning it that with buffaloes you tend to find it's only your really big bulls, these dugger boys, that tend to do a lot of wallowing. It's not something you see often with your cows. It's not something you see often with your younger animals. So that suggests that there's a strong social aspect to it as well. So obviously cooling down and getting rid of ticks and parasites and all those other obvious reasons must be a huge part of it, but it also tells us that there is something a little bit more to it than just the practical. This guy's full of beans. Try and have another look at him. It might be Rob. How's that looking? He's going to run off. Let's just sit here for a bit. There's a gap. Just see if they come past it. They're right at the back end of that larger group. Look at those massive acacia thorns in the foreground as well. That's another thing that buffalo again could easily walk through, give themselves a little bit of a scratch, get rid of some of that mud. These guys are a little bit, it's almost like they're excited. We can start hearing quite a bit of thunder to the south of us here. That very high up, high level thunder. It's not something that's threatening us just yet, but we'll see what it does. And I'm sure that these buffalo, they can also feel the possibility or the promise of rain. Maybe that's why they're a little bit more of a bounce in their step almost. So another question from Florida. All you guys in America, I hope you're having a fantastic day that's developing there for you. What's it there? Florida must be about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning now. Valerie was asking, buffalo, in the conditions we were looking at them when they're wallowing back there, they're not more vulnerable to predators, which is obviously a possibility. They could get stuck in there. At the same time, the only predators that really take buffalo like this are lions, and lions are not all that different from your house cat in certain aspects, apart from the fact that they're many, many times bigger, and that you don't just give them a bowl of milk. They are also very careful of mud and water. They're not too fond of it. Some parts of Africa, Okavango Delta for instance, they get better at coping with water, but they'd be very wary of going into thick mud like that, because first of all, for them, it would be even more cumbersome to move through than the buffalo. In other words, if the buffalo did manage to get hold of a lion, the buffalo could literally sort of force the lion under into that mud. And also lions just in general are very it's like they frown upon that kind of muddy stuff. But for other animals, warthogs, or let's say maybe a young buffalo was in there, they would be more vulnerable, especially things like hyenas, wild dogs that don't really mind that kind of conditions would be able to go for them there. That's possibly another reason why it's only your bigger buffalo that tend to wallow more often. It's an interesting question, Valerie. It might just be that because they are so much bigger, obviously as soon as you are rolling around and lying on your back, you will leave yourself more vulnerable. These big buffalo, as much as lions do take them, if they do take them, it's normally at night. In daytime, it's a very, very dangerous prospect for them. I could tell you, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Imagine a pride of lions going into that muddy slush, and the fight that will follow from that. It'll be a spectacular sight. We're going to leave those few buffalo in the background, just catch up. It's all that bound. Just catch up with the rest of the herd and see what the afternoon does. A little bit more, just catching up to the tail end of the herd again. Couple of big heavy boys. Guys, I'm just listening to the game drives quickly. They're all leaving now. Just want to see where they're heading. Don't know if you can hear that thunder. Very, very high level stuff, but a rumble of promising rain. Guys, look at that. Awesome. Now obviously those are two bulls. I'm going to try and get a stills photo of that as well, and they're not mating for mating purposes, but they're practicing. You can see the bull that's in the foreground, not too happy with it. Obviously I'd be kicking up a fuss as well if I was him. And they're just locking horns there just to affirm again that they're both males. But obviously these guys have got to make sure they've got the technique right, they've got the balance right, the muscle developed for when mating time does arrive, that they can do it properly. So that's why they're doing it. Oh, that was awesome. Afternoon stations, that big Mshlambi of Dagabo is about 25 or so, very close to the junction of Shabam Road and Philemon's Cut Line, slowly moving to the west.